All right. So it's good to see everybody who is on the Zoom session here this morning. Good to see you all. And for those of you who are maybe just going to be observing later, we appreciate y'all coming on. And what we're just doing today is reading in Mark chapter 7 from the Bible text, and we're seeking to make some observations, perhaps some applications along the way. But we want to stay true to the Bible text as much as possible. And we've got various folks on here who are willing to do some reading and hopefully some discussing as well. But we are just going to begin our reading this morning with Mark chapter 7. Mark chapter 7, beginning with verse 24 and going through verse 30. And Brian Gibson is going to lead us in the reading there of that paragraph. So Brian, why don't you take it away for us?
Okay. From there, he arose and went to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he entered a house and wanted no one to know it, but he could not be hidden. For a woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him, and she came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her daughter. But Jesus said to her, "Let the children be filled first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And she answered and said to him, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For this saying, go your way. The demon has gone out of your daughter." And when she had come to her house, she found the demon gone out and her daughter lying on the bed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brian. Kind of just make some observations here. So if you remember, as we began on our reading of the book of Mark, it starts out by making the statement that this book is about Jesus as the Son of God. And so as we're going through, we see Jesus is presenting his evidence as proving that fact. And Mark is providing these accounts to instill in our minds that he is indeed the Son of God. So verse 24, when it says that he arose, went into the region of Tyre and Sidon, he went into a house and wanted no one to know it, but he could not be hidden. What do we know about the most recent readings that we've had concerning this time period of Jesus's life? Concerning his popularity, and then also concerning what he is seeking to do with his closest disciples right now. I'll give you, all right, where I'm thinking of is that, he's at the height of his popularity, but also this is during the periods of withdrawal, or the periods of retirement, where he's seeking those more intimate associations with his disciples.
Yeah, and he's also been trying to teach his disciples and train them along the way.
That's right. And so that would speak to verse 24, that that he's got people pressing about him. Everybody wants a piece of him. But as Casey was saying, he's seeking those more intimate associations with his disciples at this point in his ministry, because he's going to be going to the cross soon. And so he's really honing in on preparing those men to serve as leaders moving forward. About what's going on here, he goes to the region of Tyre and Sidon. From what I understand, there's a large Gentile presence in that area. He's not going to just start a ministry among the Gentiles so much, but he is going to make an impression on these Gentiles. And moving forward, we're going to see when the kingdom comes and the gospel is spread, there'll be some seed sown concerning faith in Jesus, won't there? Won't there be? So what's going on here? Verse 25, there's a woman who's approaching Jesus. What's going on with this woman?
He has a daughter is demon possessed. But then again, we can go back here and look too. I think it's very important to look in verse 24 that Jesus said he wanted no one to know of it, yet he could not escape notice. Jesus, you got to figure Jesus was in Capernaum, and he's traveled just approximately, if you look on your maps, about 40 miles by foot now. You know, hey, we don't have cars and stuff. They didn't have cars and stuff back then. I mean, when you got around, it was either basically by foot, riding a donkey or something like that. But he's traveled 40 miles. He's tired. I mean, hey, even though he's the Son of God, he's human like we are. You know, you figure you get out and walk 40 miles and tell me how you feel. You're going to be tired. You're not wanting nobody to really bother you. But hey, now he's, like you said, he's at the height of his popularity. Everybody knows who Jesus is. Everybody knows, hey, what Jesus can do. So now this woman comes up to him and says, hey, I've got a daughter she's demon possessed, and I need you to heal her.
Good observations there. Yeah. And so think about that. She's falling at his feet, begging of him to do this. As you said, he's walking everywhere. And she continues to ask there, verse 26. She falls at his feet, and it says that she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her. There's some persistence here by this woman. And what does Jesus say in verse 27 to her request in response?
Let the children be satisfied first. For it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs.
All right, so let's establish a little bit of context here first before making any applications or anything like that. Justin, like, why would he say, who are the children? Like, who's he talking about?
He's talking about the Jews, right? That the Jews are that his mission here was to come to the Jews first before any other nation.
That's right. And we could see that from the context, right? Verse 26 tells us that she's a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth. And so Jesus here, he's talking about, he's saying things that will give us the impression that, again, he's not going about in this area seeking to have some movement started among the Gentiles. No, he's still going to the Jews. All right. But what about this statement that he says, let the children be first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs? What do you think about that statement? Like, if you were this woman, well, 2021, and if American woman today heard this, I mean, what would go through your mind about the statement from your perspective today? What does that bring to your mind?
Kind of like, I think it'd be like he's kind of throwing you off to the side. And what I get here is that I'm not going to heal your daughter. I'm not going, this is he's kind of going to not do what he's going to do, but he wasn't. His thinking was not to do this.
That's right, and you think about it. She's thinking of him as deity. She hears his whole reputation is one to be compassionate and to heal. She comes to him. She's begging because her daughter is filled with a demon, and then he responds this way. Like, if he says this, what does this tell you about her? If he says it's not good to take the children's bread to throw it to the little dogs, if you heard that, would that kind of make you feel like Jesus is calling you a dog? And I mean that. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I mean, it could be easily perceived that way. I don't think he's necessarily calling her a dog per se. It fits the illustration that he's using. But regardless, I think it says a lot about this woman's faith, that she would not be deterred even in the least by this. I think one of the things that marks her faith is its humility, its persistence. Like, there's no sense of entitlement here. I'll take whatever, just whatever I can get. That's wonderful. That's just how humble she is.
I think, yeah, to me, that was what I was really trying to steer us toward. That's excellent. Justin, you got a comment?
Yeah, no, and I have a question because I'm glad Brian said what he said, because this interaction that Jesus has with this woman has always bothered me because of the way he spoke to her. And I've always wrestled with it, like, why would he say this? And I appreciate Brian, in his explanation there. I have a question in regards to that, right? Because as Brian pointed out here, like, her faith in her response, she's like, man, I'll take whatever you can give me. And do you think, and it's hard for us to get into the mind of Christ here, but do you think maybe that he said that to test her faith, to see what her response was going to be? And then when she responded the way she did, like, he was impressed with her faith and healed her? Do you think that could be a reason why he said it, to see, well, okay, well, let's see.
Well, there
how much
could
faith
be
you have?
there could be another reason to this way Jesus answered her. She's a Gentile. Jesus came first to fill all the promises to Israel, and then the promises to the Gentiles. I'm not saying this is, I'm just saying in a logical sense, when he said, let the children be filled first, there's promises to Israel that needed to be filled before those to the Gentiles. And this could be part of that. I'm not saying it is, but hey, and then like you say, Jesus could be waiting for a response back from this lady. And like Brian says, hey, this lady, she's not going to give up. She's got faith. And hey, and I think if we can see in the reading, Jesus recognizes this woman for her faith.
Good. I've got two comments. Brian, you had your hand up.
Go ahead. I think some others have. Let some others go. Yeah.
All right, Casey.
The fact that they're in the region of Tyre and Sidon reminds me of a lot of Old Testament, and thinking about Jezebel, who came from that region. It was a very idolatrous place. It's interesting that Jesus is even here. It basically takes a few months to get away from the region where the Jew Gentile would be mixed, and he goes out to a region that's primarily Gentile. But there are some Jews there probably, so he's helping them probably. But as he's doing this, in Matthew's account, it actually gives a little bit more information. Like, the people actually tell Jesus, send her away, get rid of her. And Jesus doesn't say anything to her. And then all of a sudden he turns to her and tells her this, it's not right to give it to the dogs, what belongs to the children. Whenever he says dogs, there's actually different words for dogs. There's a word for dogs that would represent the filthy dogs that were unclean, that were something nobody liked. And then there would be the more pet kind of dog, which in Jewish society, you wouldn't have had pet dogs because they were all unclean. But in the Gentile society, that would have been a very popular thing. So he's giving a reference here that lets us know very clearly this is talking about the pet dog. And he's trying to help make the statement that he understands the Jews are the primary people that God has sent Jesus to save. And then eventually the Gentiles will be brought in after the Jews reject Jesus, but that's not his primary mission. I think that was already said, but I think that's a really important point here. He's not necessarily being harsh or hateful. He's just trying to remain focused on the mission. But yeah, there may be some teaching the disciples here, and also maybe just letting this woman's faith be seen. by not initially, welcoming her and giving her what she wants.
Excellent, excellent thoughts. Yeah, and for us today, still her example extends, doesn't it? I mean, like the Lord speaks these words, and yet she still remains humble and wants whatever the Lord is willing to grant. And when he commends her for her faith, verse 29, he said, for this saying, well, after she answered and said to him, yes, Lord, even the little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs. Then he said to her, for this saying, go your way, the demon has gone out of her. When she had come to her house, what did she find?
Her daughter healed.
That's right. She's there peacefully laying on the bed. I really love the book of Mark and how it illustrates Bible miracles with regard to demons. I don't see demons possessing people all throughout the Bible, do we? I mean, is that something we find out throughout the entirety of the Bible, Old and New Testament? Demons possessing people? Or is it kind of more concentrated? Somebody help me out there. Where do you find that most often, demons possessing people?
You have Saul in the Old Testament with an evil spirit comes upon him, but I mean, that doesn't say a demon necessarily. And really, there's the highest concentration is in the Gospels.
Spot on. The highest concentration is there in the Gospels. And so it's not like demon possession is all the way from Genesis to Revelation, just all the time. That's number one. But number two, to piggyback off of that, when there is demons being met by the power of Jesus, is there a contentious back and forth between good and evil, evil really striving with good in this big giant
No,
fight, or how would you describe it?
I would describe it as Jesus showing his power over Satan, showing his power over the demons. They know who Jesus is. I mean, they had made the statements on several occasions that we've already studied that they said, hey, Jesus, the Son of God, why are you here for? And they knew why he was there for. They knew what was coming down. And Jesus is showing his power, his authority over the demons. He's showing it. He shows it.
And when he
Battle.
shows his power, is it a long thing that's drawn out, or is it?
No, it's immediately. It's that same word we've been seeing throughout this book of Mark. And you see it again in verse 25. Immediately came and fell at his feet. What did? The unclean spirit. Immediately, not 2 or 3 days down the road here or a month later, but it happens now.
I think Brian had a comment.
Go ahead, Brian. Thank you,
No,
Justin.
I was just going to make a quick observation that in cases like this, the battle is over almost before it starts. Not literally, of course, but it's a demonstrative thing, where this is light work for Jesus, so to speak.
Could not have said better. And the reason I want to stress that is because one of the reasons we're doing our study isn't just to benefit Christians, but we're hoping that we can benefit folks who are seeking to come to the Lord. And you recognize that you like this woman, that Jesus, he has something to offer, and you want what he has to offer. And so often what we find in this culture that we live in, when it comes to demonic possession, we think of, at least I do, and maybe y'all don't. If y'all don't, that's okay, but I think of like The Exorcist, and not a movie I would recommend, but something that I grew up with, and something that society is very familiar with, which is this contending back and forth between demons and priests and all that. And Like the priest could, like, he's begging for a miracle, can never, see it through. And if he does, well, then it's just by the skin of his teeth. And in the book of Mark, we don't see that. In the New Testament, we don't see that. Brian, looked like you had something you were going to say there.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
All right. So that was just my point. To contrast what we're making these observations with to our modern society and what people would kind of purport is going on. Casey.
And one other thing you notice in verse 28, so many people today would be so easily offended by something like this. But she doesn't act offended. She has humility. And I think a lot of times people being offended is just showing that they have this pride inside of them, this thought that they deserve more respect and something along those lines. But that's not the way that she handled this at all. She recognized that it was true, that she is a dog, in a sense. Like probably her morality is really messed up. So she doesn't try to justify or act like she's really a child. She just admits it, and then she submits and asks for Jesus to still help her. And that even just the crumbs of what Jesus can offer is better than nothing. And that's all that she would need for her daughter to be healed. He's got that much power. So I really like the humility of this woman as well. Not just that Jesus can heal her with crumbs, but that she's willing to accept the truth that she's not as she should be.
Good point. Jimmy?
Yeah. As we were saying about, people today, who I guess thinking they're demon possessed, and, they had to have the person come in and touch them. Jesus has never laid eyes on this girl, never seen her. And what does he tell the mother? Go, your daughter is healed. Never seen her, never touched her, anything. I mean, people like that who are fake healers today, that don't work that way with them. They lay your hands on you, they touch you, they do all this stuff. Jesus don't have to even touch you, don't even have to know you, don't even have to see you. You're healed. And that's what he told the lady. And big difference, great big difference what we see here. And like you said, it'd be great if we get some people who are outside the body of Christ to enter, come in and join us on our studies here. And, that'd be great, because we're seeing the power of God. We see the power of Jesus working here. And like I say, never laid eyes on the girl, didn't touch her, didn't do anything. Says, hey, go, your daughter's healed. I mean, I don't know how much more of a convincing that you can get from what we're reading here.
And yes, sir, Mr. Brian.
I thought it might be at least worth pointing out. I don't think it's been mentioned, but earlier in Jesus' ministry, we read this in Luke 6 and verse 17. A great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem and from the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon came to hear him and be healed of their diseases. Now, obviously, we don't know if this woman was among those present at that time, but she would have at least maybe had the opportunity to hear from some who did come at that time. And so that might help us to understand how she came to faith. Again, a lot that we don't know, and I'm not trying to put a stake down, hey, we know this and that, but it is worth noting that Tyre and Sidon had been exposed to Jesus earlier.
Oh, that's a good observation.
Yes.
Thank you.
What I like, sorry.
Go ahead, Justin.
And that's really quickly what I also like, is as Casey had mentioned earlier, right? The faith of this woman. And we have seen this before from Gentiles responding to Jesus the way Jesus wanted the Jews to respond to him. The woman at the well, he talks to her and he reveals things to her, and she goes back and tells the people, man, You need to come hear this man. And they come and they hear him and they say, man, we believe you, not because of what she said, but because we heard. And they were wanting him to stay. And, you know, you see it here with this woman, right? Like he says, hey, you know, it's good, not good to take the children's bread and throws it to the dogs. But then she's like, man, whatever is left over, I will take, you know, and that impressed Jesus. And I think about that, right? That it impressed Jesus. To impress the Son of God is a powerful thing. Like that's a compliment to her, that he is impressed by, like it moved him, you know. And so when you think of God being impressed with people, you know, here's Jesus, right? And so what does that tell us, man? Like, you know, we as Christians, man, we have to have faith like this woman. You know, we look down on people of the world, but sometimes people in the world have more faith in God than me, that claim to be a child of God, and they act and they conduct themselves as if they had more faith in God than I do, and the things that they do. So, you know, it's just a powerful reminder to me that my responsibility as a son, as a child of God, is to have faith in him and his promises, like this woman had in Jesus.
One point. Jesus often pointed to the Greeks and the Samaritans as an example to the Jews. So a very good point, Justin. We're right almost at the 12 o'clock mark. I was going to try to go ahead into the next one, but I really like everything that everybody's contributing. So we'll just continue on finishing up here. Brian, did you?
I was just gonna say one more thing, Jimmy mentioned, about obviously our desire to teach those outside of Christ and so forth. But, what is something that oftentimes turns people away when we're studying with them? The fact that not we, but God is calling them a sinner. In your present state, you're a sinner. You're ungodly. You're condemned. You're facing the wrath of God. And so I think there's a good parallel with this woman. Didn't matter what she was called, what illustration was used to refer to her. I'm still coming to you. I know you're the only one who can heal. And so, we have to come to the Lord initially, not thinking that he owes us anything, but that by his grace and mercy, he will give us salvation. And so I think there's, some good parallels here to, when we're talking to someone outside of Christ.
And as I've been built up this study, and everybody's been doing a great job contributing. Does anyone else have anything that you'd like to add? And if you've noticed anything, you just want to contribute, you're welcome to. All right, nothing, going once, going twice. All right, well, what we've done is we've looked at the story here of Jesus going into Tyre and Sidon, and then this woman who was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, coming to him. Remember, he was wanting to not have everybody know about his being there, but folks knew about it, and certainly this woman found out about it too. She comes and she begs Jesus to heal her daughter who had been demon possessed. He speaks to her about not just going to the Gentiles, I think is what we had talked about. The text says specifically, let the children be filled first, for it's not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dog. And she shows humility. She shows faith in Jesus, and he provides in healing her daughter and commends her for her faith. And I appreciate so much the insight. I gained a lot from all different perspectives. And Lord willing, as we have opportunity, we're going to come back and we'll pick up right where we left off. Verse 31, that'll be where we start next week, Lord willing. And we'll go through and deal with what the text provides there. I appreciate everybody's contribution. I appreciate those of you who've tuned in and have listened. And we hope and pray that God is being glorified and that we are all being edified in the process. And if you have any comments or questions, let us know. Feel free to let us know. And Lord willing, we'll do this again next week. Thank y'all.
I'm glad
Thank
to
you,
have
everyone.
my mom join.
Thanks.
She's on here.
Appreciate it very much.